What's up, buddy? I have a great story for you. I sent you this, and you didn't even respond to me. Liquid Death hashtag not a sponsor. I got it back. Apparently went to war with the Arnold Palmer family. For those who don't know, Arnold Palmer was a professional golfer who used to drink a lot of iced tea and lemonade mix. He sold the rights to this to Arizona Iced Tea or something like that.
Yep.
Liquid Death had their own lemonade iced tea mix called the Armless Palmer, and the Palmer family in Arizona went after them and gave them a cease and desist. And now they call it Dead Billionaire.
Well, and I think the great thing about that story, right? Because I did read it. I'm sorry I didn't respond. It's been one of those weeks.
Yeah.
The great thing about that story is so Liquid Death, though.
They posted to their Instagram, if you like our Armless Palmer, you're going to love our Dead Billionaire. Why? Because it's the exact same thing. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP podcast. I'm your host, Justin Esgar. With me always is my good friend, podcast host, producer extraordinaire, pirate, pal, pipe dream, Mr. Eric. I'm running out of
because he's waiting for his first royalty check, folks.
Yeah, I'm running out of P words that are podcast appropriate. I don't have but if you can't tell, I don't have a pop filter on my microphone, and I purposely pee out my piece. Side note: there's a great College Humor turned into a show called Game Changer,
right?
And there's a great sketch, if you want to look this up, and I think we've talked about this before, where the guy had to sell the host on a keyboard that was all the letter P, and they were like, well, why should I buy a P letter keyboard? And the guy goes, because it's perfect. And the other cast members were like, no, they just like lost their mind over it. And then someone asked, they were like, how, if I wanted to write an email like, hey, Eric, how are you? Hope things are well. XOXO, Justin, how would I write that on the P keyboard? And the guy literally goes, it was the funniest thing. Go check it out. We've talked about that before. What's up, dude? Another episode. Here we are. We have a guest today, as always. I love it when we have a guest.
Yes. I mean, it depends, right? Because sometimes we cover topics that just you and I run across that we think are things that the audience needs to know or would like to know, like the recent one we did on compliance. That one actually has gotten a lot of traction. No,
it was a tragedy. Is what the word you're looking for.
That's what this podcast is. This podcast is tragic.
Promise we'll do better next time.
But that one, has picked up some great traction, which is good. Shows that the content that you guys want are the things that at least every once in a while, Justin and I are, pulling out.
I do know what they really want. They really want to know the information about the name change of the Arnold Palmer drink at Liquid Death, which is why you're here for the show.
Well, maybe we'll do an entire show on that. Probably not.
Well, marketing. We'll do a show on marketing. But for today, we're doing a show about security. We have a guest. Let's bring up our guest, Mr. Joe Scalone from Yubico, Senior Solutions Architect at Yubico. Joe, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Joe, just people know I met you only a few short months ago at the Mac Adamins PSU. You were sporting that same shirt. I'm really hoping you've washed it since then.
Luckily, I've got a couple of them.
Do you pull like this? I know we haven't even introduced you yet, but I'm going to jump right in. Do you pull the Steve Jobs and is like that your just go-to outfit every day? You just always wear the Yubico shirt?
Not every day. I don't have that many, and I've got a variety of them, but it definitely makes life easier.
You just need 7. That's all you need. There's only 7 black turtlenecks, 1 pair of Levi jeans, and a pair of, what did he wear? New Balance shoes? The white ones. I forget what he was wearing.
Yeah, New Balance. But yeah, I don't think turtlenecks would work well for me.
Joe, while we got here, why don't you tell everybody a little bit who you are? What is Yubico? And since your last name is Scalone, and we had this conversation pre-show, tell everybody which is your favorite Rocky movie.
Got it. Well, we'll start first. It's Rocky 3 because I love Mr. T. Always have, always will. Seen every episode of A-Team that I'm willing to talk about. So some about me, Joe Scalone. I live in the Maryland area. I've been working with identity for, I guess we're coming up on 10 years now. And really, I'm passionate about making people safe online. I've got 3 little kids, and it scares the bejesus out of me. Some of the things that I've seen in my travels, similar to you guys, I imagine, there's a dark underbelly to the internet that really, if more people knew about, we could do something about. And if you look at the numbers, cybercrime is the 3rd largest economy in the world, behind China and the United States. And there are things we can do about that are not very hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Enter player 3, Joe Scalone, coming in to talk about it.
Pretty much. So I work for Yubico. Yubico specifically provides modern hardware authentication that stops phishing attacks and account takeovers for the world's largest organizations, small businesses, individuals, and more. I also do work with the Fido Alliance. I'm the co-chair of the U.S. Government Deployment Group and the World Government Deployment Group. That's probably new from the last time we chatted.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I agree with you about the scariness of the internet. I have a 8-year-old, and he's getting into Fortnite now, and I've turned off all the chat, and I've tried to manage his computers. Actually, as an IT person, one of the things I pride myself on is that I manage my kids' devices, and I think I do a pretty good job. But I wanted to I ran my own pen test, and I had a friend of mine try to FaceTime my son just to see if he would answer a random phone number. And he did. And I was like, I screwed up in 2 ways. 1, I didn't teach him don't pick up FaceTimes of random phone numbers. And 2, I should have blocked it, all of the outside callers. But yeah, the internet sucks, but we're on it because you're here listening to this show.
Right. I mean, it has its purpose.
I have actually a stack of Yubico keys here. Not for any other reason than a couple of these were mine, a couple of these belong to staff members, a couple of these were gifts. So you can see I really do like them. But let's get into why should somebody be using, whether it's Yubico or some other sort of encryption key. I'm assuming, and you'll correct my terminology, Fido key. And why use this? Is this necessary when we enforce 2-factor authentication on everybody's computers? Where is this fitting into the play here?
It all comes down to risk. We'll start with the idea of implementing phishing-resistant authentication, which is really only a FIDO authenticator and a smart card. Not many people are signing up to go back to smart cards. There's a large cost associated with setting up a PKI infrastructure to manage the certificates behind that. You don't really need that necessarily with a FIDO authenticator. Just doing that alone would stop 90% of internet breaches, because it's been discovered that truly 90% are due to stolen login credentials.
Right.
Think of how much money you could save just from that. Now, why a security key? I also have a couple, as you can imagine.
It's not fair, though. Hold on. You have the branded shirt. I don't have a Yubico shirt.
Yeah. I do have the branded shirts. We'll, maybe next at Mac Admin Conference, I'll see if I can get you a branded shirt as well. Why a security key? Well, let's talk about the opposite side of that, a passkey. And really, passkey just means a FIDO authenticator. most of us know passkeys as the syncable passkey. Very convenient. Set it up on your Mac. It's on your iPad. It's on your iPhone. Other companies are either actively out with them. Google conveniently set them up for you on all their devices. But they own the private key. That's what's getting synced around. If you're comfortable with that, I'd rather see you use that than a password any day of the week. If you want to control your private key, you need a hardware authenticator, which is effectively, it's a hardware-backed Fido credential or a hardware-backed passkey.
Right.
This way, you don't want somebody to access that private key, you unplug it. Nobody's going to get to it.
So let's backtrack this one a little bit, right, for those who aren't who are not aware with what passkeys, right? Because you and I were talking a little bit before the show we started recording. Like, my entire team uses 1Password, right? Password management, we like it. It's probably one of the safest ones. And I've noticed that 1Password now is like storing passkeys for Google. And I've talked to my lead tech, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's just passwordless passwords." And I was like, "I don't know if that's 100% right." Like, let's break down what a passkey is, why people should be using them. Where does that sit in the realm of, let's say, two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication? And then I guess we can stop on top of that the idea of using a key, a hardware key.
So let's start with defining multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication by saying, really, there are three factors: something you have, something you are, and something you know. Something you have, something you know would be a PIN number, a password. Something you are, retinal scan, because I know you have one of those at home, Justin, to get into your front door. Fingerprint, veins in your wrist, the way you walk. These are all biometric factors. The way you type, the patterns of your life. These are all things that are really predictable from a biometric standpoint. Why use two-factor at all? Well, it's harder to break into. It's harder to sit there and say, well, I've copied your password. Well, now I need to copy the SMS code, which is really not that hard, off of somebody else's phone. Or I need that digit from an app, an authenticator app that's on your phone. So then from there, why a passkey, or what is a passkey? A passkey is a Fido credential. Full stop. But what does that mean? So think of it as a certificate-based authentication that is one-to-one tied to an individual website in this case. Because it's really meant to be making passwordless authentication easy for this mobile web environment we all effectively live in at this point. Why use it? It's significantly more secure, and in some cases, just as convenient, if not more convenient, because you really don't have to remember a password. You'll get prompted for a PIN for some cases, but that's it. And it's significantly more secure.
Right. So in the case of 1Password, right, in order to unlock 1Password, I have literally one password, which unlocks to all of my passwords. So effectively, if that password got out, someone can access my entire life if they had access to the vaults that I have. But that password is complex, and I'm never using it anywhere else. But I could also unlock 1Password with just my finger, because at least on the Mac, and I know there's ways to do this, and Eric will tell me I'm wrong or right, that there's ways to do biometrics on some PCs. I know some PCs have like what is it? The ThinkPads have the little touch thing, right?
Yep.
Just by touching the keyboard on my Mac, which unlocks my 1Password, which then unlocks all the other passwords, and then access to the passkeys. I mean, I feel like I'm playing a game of Get Smart here, like that intro scene with all the doors. Like, when do I get in, or am I overdoing it? Where should, let's take this two ways. Where should one, the MSP, stop, and two, where should they get the clients that they take care of to stop? Because you could go down a rabbit hole and never come out of it when it comes down to security.
So the one place, and I can see this as a good market for a lot of MSPs, is ask your clients about risk. What happens if that master password gets out there and somebody shuts down your business? Well, are you ever coming back from that?
Right.
I know when I had my own business, I wouldn't be coming back from that. I'd be looking for a job instead of trying to come back for that. It's the same argument we always had with backups. The thing that I was always told from my clients 15 years ago when I was in your guys' shoes is, why do I need a backup? I've never lost any data.
Till that first ransomware event happens. And I mean,
Bingo.
quite honestly, I had one of those events where I very nearly went out of business. It was early on in ransomware. And if I had not been able to recover that client and get them back up and operating within 4 days, I think we did, with no good backup, it would have been devastating.
And think of it, if that ransomware attack really came in from basically a credential attack, a passkey would have stopped that, whether it was hardware backed or not. And you get to stay home for those 4 days and do other things instead of, being at the office probably 24 hours straight.
It actually pulled me away from an auto task conference that I was
anyway.
speaking at.
I was gonna say Eric would have been at the office anyway, because
back then, yeah,
because he just wanted to get out.
Understood. So back to the idea of when is enough enough. It comes down to personal choice and risk. We talked about kids. We all have houses. Where is the limit of security at your house for your kids? Because I don't know about you, mine changed the second I had a wife, the second I had kids. Otherwise, we were younger and we all did dumb things. That's normal. The risk with, cyber is no different. Maybe the password to buy a pizza is not super important to you, but the password to a multi-million-dollar stock portfolio is.
Right.
One, don't use the same password. Preferably, don't use a password. Because I can go online right now and spin up a password cracker, and your 16-character password is mine in less than a day. And I spent $12.
Yeah. The problem is that my multi-million-dollar portfolio password is I like pizza.
I didn't know we had the same password. That's kind of cool.
So, but the thing is, when it comes to passkeys, especially on websites, like we're as IT providers, we're stuck, right? We can't do anything because we're waiting for the websites to update and take on this new technology. I have seen very few websites that I can log in with passkey. Facebook doesn't even have it, as far as I know. LinkedIn doesn't have it. Google does. Google Mail does. And I think that's where the buck stops. Like, why are we waiting? So why are these companies not just do it? It's an obvious good thing, and we should be informing our customers about it. But what good is informing my customers when 99% of the websites that they go to don't have it?
Well,
so there's two ways of. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Well, and I was just going to say that that's one of the reasons I like YubiKeys, because they seem to be one of the more widely adopted other forms of multi-factor authentication besides SMS and app authenticators.
So I can answer that two ways. One, as a side, it's not just Fido we can do on here. You can also do that same app authenticator and protect it with a YubiKey. It's not phishing resistant, but you have to present your YubiKey to your device to unlock that authenticator app. And that's the Yubico authenticator. You can download that Mac or iPhone, Android. So why haven't more sites really implemented this? Think back. When did your bank institute multi-factor technology?
Oh, they
When
have.
we, and my point exactly. Until somebody forces them to do it, or they've been burned bad enough and it becomes a risk thing.
Yeah.
The other way to implement it is through federation. If you set up something like Okta or Entra now and federate into these sites, you can use a passkey to get in, and then it's SAML on the back end from there, which I would recommend anyway, really for any MSP, because now you can control that access differently without passwords, and you can manage it and you can track it.
Well, I've had clients who've come to me and complained about the idea of using something like Okta or Entra or any of these IDPs as,
Mhm.
well, then they just need the one password to get into everything else, right? Because they would get that. So, like, again, going back to this get smart door concept,
Mhm.
you need to Fido control the access to Okta, which is a single password to allow SAML into these other websites that don't allow Fido control. It becomes a headache, and it
Mhm.
becomes a problem, and then it comes down to like, I what you keep calling risk, I call is the juice worth the squeeze. Like, do
Right.
I need to really put IDP on Pizza One's website, or my login for my Pizza One website, so I can get my chicken bacon ranch, which hashtag they don't deliver to where I am. So pissed that I moved. But like, where is, I don't know. I already asked this, but like in my head, I keep spinning around
Mhm.
the idea of like, where's the end point? Like, is it worth it to do all this? So let's go from the other side of it. Okay.
Yeah.
MSP, all MSPs are promoting two-factor. All MSPs are promoting some sort of, or if you're not promoting IDP, you should be promoting some sort of IDP, whether that's Okta, Entra, Jump Cloud, or whoever else you're doing. You can even
Mhm.
use Google as single sign-on for a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yes, you can.
Um, they're already promoting that. So that's what they're considering step one. We're going to bump that to step two and say a Fido key, in this case, a Yubico key, should become new step one. So what are the risks of rolling it out? Because my fear, and I talked to you about this at Mac
Mhm.
Admins, is I have the Yubico Mini, which, by the way, is a silly device because I never took it out of my computer. If I
Mhm.
lose this, I am bleep.
Thanks
Yes.
for doing the work
Uh,
for me there,
You got it,
Justin.
buddy.
yeah, we recommend getting 2 keys for that reason. Multiple keys is really the thing. This is why when you buy a car, you get 2 keys. You go rekey your door at home, you get at least 2 keys. Um, Having multiple keys really to have that backup is key. I've said key way too many times here, but
Yeah.
mm, you know that's really the process you want to go with. Um, I would also take a step back and instead of saying um, implementing a security key as step one, I would still go the route of implementing an IDP and then add this version of multi-factor, whether it's FIDO of any form or smart card. Move to a phishing-resistant authenticator. Go on the path to passwordless. Are we there as technologists? No. All companies need to do a little bit more, but we're still making steps in the right direction. There is no perfect solution for every company. I'm a really firm believer in that. But really, we want to raise the floor up for security.
Yeah.
Let's stop the easy attacks. Let's proverbially lock your door at the end of the night so nobody walking by just randomly walks in. Getting off of passwords to me is the same thing.
I don't remember what movie this is from, but some movies like, I don't know about you, but it's from Iron Man 2, where Justin Hammer goes, I still lock my door at night. This isn't Canada.
So maybe only certain Canadians might want to get this for the reference, but we'll still talk to you anyway. I'll still find a solution that'll help protect you, whether
You
it's
can leave your front
honestly
door
whether
unlocked.
it's with us or not.
Leave your front door unlocked, but sleep with a Yubico key under your pillow to get into all of your stuff. Is what you're getting at.
Maybe put it on the nightstand or
All right.
on a nice key ring.
On a nice key ring.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this real quick because there are, and I'm trying to get to my web browser, but my teleprompter concept is still not working for me.
Well, while you're doing that, I have a question because I'm the process guy, right?
Mhm.
It seems to me, in my experience, it is easier to use a Fido key than it is to do SMS or app-based authentication. So as an MSP, if I'm trying to sell this to clients, is it not a selling point that it's just easier and it's more secure?
Yes, and you don't have to reimburse on a cell phone. You don't have to maintain, unless you're obviously buying cell phones as your primary source of communication.
Right.
But I know a lot of companies are moving to things like Teams, where everything is based off of off of your computer for telephoning as well. Yes, this is easier, this is quicker, and ends up being less expensive. Because then the flip side of that is, how many of us have gotten calls to reset a password to something in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
This eliminates that. Eliminates all of those calls. Obviously, it changes them to something else. Hey, I've lost all of my keys. But then you got other issues.
Well, and that was going to be my next question. Because my next question was, if I'm an MSP or an internal IT admin, is there a way for me to have one key that I keep locked up that would give me access to these other accounts should I need that break glass type of scenario?
If you have an IDP set up that's managing these, yes. Because it's your admin key to get into something. From an MSP perspective, I would be using these as my admin tokens everywhere, because now you have effectively made sure that you are not the reason for a hijack attack.
Yeah.
It's not you using the same password at 40 sites, because obviously nobody's ever done that before, and none of your listeners ever do that. And you happen to write it down on a Post-it note for a new employee, and he leaves it in the company. And that company turns around and realizes that it gets into their competition. And now you're having to explain yourself. How did this happen? Even if they left a YubiKey key behind, they still need to know the PIN number to unlock the device, and they have to physically be somewhere to plug it in.
Right.
Yeah. It's like our friend Matt Lee says, right? Defensibility. It gives the MSP another layer of defensibility of, hey, I did everything physically possible, including adding this key to make sure that nobody but me could get into these systems.
Which is the first time we're actually doing something physically possible, right? Because normally when we say I did everything physically possible, it just meant how many taps on a keyboard.
Right.
So I'm on the Yubico website, right? You have a lot of different versions of keys, right? There's the Yubico 5C, the NFC, non-NFC, the Nano, the 5CI. Help somebody who's never done this buy the right thing.
So conveniently, I do know they have a new thing on the website that you can go through and answer a couple questions that will help you find the right one. But let's talk about it. What's your form factor that you need? Do you need a Lightning port? Are you USB-C only? USB-A only? Does it matter? Do you only need Fido? Do you need NFC? Do you need FIPS certified authenticators? Those are really your choices and kind of lead you down a certain path. If you don't need FIPS, you don't want a biometric key, which this is instead of your PIN number, you use your fingerprint. Then To me, it's A or C, and do you want nano or not? For me, and for a lot of admins out there, multiple keys are the way to go, but also not having the nano because I'm using multiple machines. I'm bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I
the
don't
problem with
really
the Nano
feel
is
like,
that it's so tiny. Like, I never took it out of my computer. I felt like it defeated the purpose if I never take it out.
and that's the key. If you are a one computer user and that's it, buy a nano, plug it in, kind of forget it's there for that purpose.
Unless, of course, someone steals my laptop.
But then they would need to know your PIN number
And they would need my fingerprint or something like that, right?
to get into your machine. Yeah. I mean, with any type of security, if somebody owns your machine, digitally or physically, a lot of bets are off. Whether it's from a digital or a physical aspect, we've got a different issue there. And there aren't many vendors that are going to really be able to help you out.
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you a really. People are going to who are listening to this going to think I'm really stupid for asking this question. But I got into an argument the other day with somebody about this.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so dumb just even thinking about this question.
Lay it on me.
On a biometric device like this
Mm-hmm.
one, if they cut off my finger,
Mm-hmm.
shut up, Eric. For those who are listening and not watching, Eric is losing his mind right now. If they cut off my finger, will it still work on a device like this?
Yes. And it will also still work on your Mac. And the scary thing is
bullshit.
there are certain, how do I put this? Certain gloves that can be made to mimic your fingerprint as well. And there have been studies done that they can make something known as a master fingerprint. There's about 40 of them that would cover the majority of the United States.
That's a scary thought.
Unique. Yeah, that is scary.
And that's the thing with generative AI that everybody, AI is big everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. Think of it. What people are listening to and watching right now could actually be AI manifestations of the three of us.
Don't tell them the secrets.
Sorry. It's not hard or expensive to do now. And it's only getting better. It's thinking of those applications where, like in biometrics or facial recognition, that tend to get scary. The one advantage that we have, as you've seen when you use the key, you have to touch that touch point, whether it's the gold Y or the little gold nub on your key, which is known as a liveness check. That's to make sure somebody's physically sitting there to do it.
Right.
You can't really do that remotely when you're passing through.
Well, now that you've given up the secret, obviously it's very obvious to tell everyone that Eric and I are AI because we repeat the same lines, such as "We'll do better next time," hashtag not a sponsor, podcast producer extraordinaire. That Eric and I are AI, but you, sir, are not. You are a very smart gentleman, especially when it comes to this stuff. Real quick before we finish up, Joe, where can people find you online? Where can they find out more about Yubico? Where should they go to buy it? And when should they start implementing it?
We'll go backwards. Implement now. Where you can buy it, you can actually get them off of Amazon. If you go through somebody like Ingram, you can also get them. You can get them right from our website as well. Where to find out about more Yubico? Just go right to the website. As for me, you can Google me. I've got a couple other things out there, a couple white papers I've helped write, and you can see actually your talk from the Mac Admin Conference and mine out there on YouTube. Otherwise, you can email me, joe.scalone@yubico.com.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes. Joe, thank you for scaring the absolute bejesus out of me and everyone who's listening. For more about Yubico or hearing more about the podcast, check us out, facebook.com/group/all things MSP. Watch Eric crack up at me at youtube.com/@allthingsmsp. I'm Justin. That's Eric. That was Joe. I'm going to go take a nap now. Bye.
From your host, Justin Esgar, and myself, thank you for listening to the All Things MSP podcast. Join the All Things MSP Facebook group or follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production, and even though we drink a lot of it, this podcast is still not sponsored by Liquid Death. And now that you've watched that mess of a podcast, don't forget to watch one of these and go ahead and click that subscribe button so you get to watch more. Yeah, just go ahead and do it. Click the button and then watch one of the other videos. I'm watching.